Hey folks, welcome to another video from A Plain Truth. I want to do an update. It's been since October 8th till now, so over 3.5 months about, since the over 60 fires. They're combining them, as you can see here, into these 4 or 5 fires. But no, there was fires up in the Sierra Buttes. There was fires up in Mendocino. There were over 60 fires started all at the same time, came out of nowhere, and we're still over, like I said, 3.5 months, way past 100 days. And I just sat there with Ken Pimlott, the CAL FIRE chief, said he still has no idea. Maybe it was a grass fire, maybe it was a phone pole. No idea still how these fires started. Can you believe that? And it may take another couple months before they know. But that hasn't stopped the vultures, the Rebuild North Bay, the Agenda 21, the infill crowd, the city ventures, and all the big homeowner groups coming in and moving these people out of their homes. Going to put in these people, I'm going to show you, they're not getting back in their homes, basically. They're not going to be able to move back in. Total loss on these properties. And this is what, by design, folks. I hate to tell you, but it's by design. So 7,500 damaged homes. Here you see they're calling it the Tubbs Fire. 5,500 structures destroyed. Give you a little recap on what that looked like. And then here we have the Coffee Park, Fountain Grove, and Larkfield Wickiup, which are around the same area. So they're going to be now Coffin Park, Fountain Grove, and no more building going on, folks, as we're going to show here in a minute. The coffee area quickly went up in flames. You can see the before and after picture of homes that were absolutely destroyed. The demarcation line showing there were lasers used. Some places hit, some places not. Almost in 18 Fountain Grove here. They're turning into before and after pictures here you see as well. Just massive homes just destroyed, but others were left untouched. Then they had the Pocket Fire, the Atlas Fire, and all these. So we're going to get into this area here around the Fountain Grove area. And I want to bring your attention to this article. This is in the Press Democrat, the local paper here owned by Darius Anderson. Kenwood Investments also is his group, and he's partners with Doug Bosco. And these guys are all home builders and rebuilders, and they own the newspapers, and they own city council, and we got the ex-FEMA guys, James Lee Witt, profiting from the disaster. But here they're doing tests on the water samples, and this is why nobody's going to be able to move back in. They've been scraping, and there's been so many dump trucks every day, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, every single day, night and day, taking down the properties and leveling them, and people are trying to start to rebuild, but they're being stymied, as we'll get into. So here's one of the reasons they're being stymied. This is January 26th, last week or so, a little over. Santa Rosa officials, now remember, October 8th, 9th was the fire, so we got November, December, and January, so we got over 3 months. Santa Rosa officials are scrambling to figure out why drinking water in the wildfire ravaged, wasn't a wildfire, folks, it was a laser attack, on Fountain Grove is contaminated with chemicals commonly found in plastics and gasoline. A team of local officials, experts, has been working for 2.5 months. So you got the fire, chief of fire, CAL FIRE, Mr. Pimlott can't figure out what's happening. Now you got the local water agencies, regulators, and experts, 2.5 months. They can't understand how the volatile hydrocarbon benzene is getting into water systems and how to fix the problem. So what am I going to tell you? It's a super fun cleanup site. Despite hundreds of water tests, detailed mapping results, targeted equipment, the problems still persist, leaving officials confounded and a $20 million replacement of the water system a real possibility. This is a top priority of the water department. We're putting every resource on this and committed to resolving it. Directive Santa Rosa Water. Water everywhere. It's kind of important. So what is this benzene? Well, benzene is a widely used in the United States, top 20 chemicals in production. To make other chemicals used to make plastics, resins, and nylons. Benzene is also used to make types of lubricants, rubbers, dyes, detergents, drugs, and pesticides. Benzene leaks from underground storage tanks or other hazardous sites containing benzene contaminate well water. A major source of benzene exposure is tobacco smoke. Benzene works by causing cells not to work correctly. It can cause It can cause bone marrow not to produce enough red cells, which can lead to anemia. Also can damage the immune system by changing blood levels of antibodies and causing the loss of white blood cells. Can you say carcinogenic? The seriousness of poisoning caused by benzene develops on the amount, route, and length of time of exposure, as well as the age and pre-existing medical conditions. So here you have all the symptoms: vomiting, convulsions, and long-term cancer as well. So what are they doing otherwise? So they're trying to open the doors for new housing and fire ravage. They're trying to sell people. They're going to get them back in. And here come the builders with taking over the lots. Here, I want to show you this first. And here's a list of homes, lots for sale where the fires have been. Coffee Meadows, 189,000. Now, these property values were 6, 8 million, 100,000, up to $1 million on these lots. They're just selling the lots as is. And the people are going to have to rebuild. And I know in Puerto Rico, a bunch of vulture capitalists are going and buying in there. But here you see the lots. Their property value is going from 800,000. They're trying to get 180,000 if they're lucky. But problem is that now some of the people looking to buy are canceling their escrows because of the benzene article, the contaminated soil, the huge regulations of new types of building, fire retardant, sprinkler systems, batteries for your garage doors and everything. And they still haven't told us how the fires have started. So, but here come the vulture capitalists. They're coming in and they're coming in to move into this area. And I'll get to that in a minute. I want to get into this Bill Gallagher guy, one of the main proponents behind the rebuilding North Bay as they're taking over Santa Rosa and Sonoma County. So let's switch to that. So this is William Gallagher. He owns a bunch of things. He does old retirement companies and whatnot. But this guy has been reimbursing employees' campaign donations. And here back in 2016, during the 2016 elections, he was funding different people for the elections to get the right people in power so he could do his building. He had several projects, including ones in Fountain Grave, which he is moving forward with. But he didn't get the deal he wanted. But he sure got some campaigns. These guys are complaining that the elections in 2016 were coerced and funded by Mr. Gallagher. So who is this Mr. Gallagher? Let's find out a little bit about him. Well, he owns this Oakmont Senior Living. And the Oakmont Senior Living, as we can see here, lawsuits have been over fire evacuations alleged Oakmont Senior Living offered. And lawsuits alleged fraud, elder financial abuse at Oakmont Living Center. So this was January 20th, 2018, after the fires, September 24th, 2017. What he did in the lawsuit here in 2018 after the fires, he's trying to buy silence with the people. This was after the fires. These people are trying to be paid off to keep their mouths shut, as I'll get into in a minute. So this William Gallagher, known as Bill, is president of Oakmont Developers and Gallagher Construction. He's a real estate developer, serves as chairman of Poppy Bank, formerly First Community Bank of Santa Rosa, and they're the ones making loans to these people on the property. Profit from the disaster. For 2 generations, it's been family-run business. He started building homes in 1979. In the last 2 decades, he's focused on senior and assisted living communities throughout the state. And as we said, he's chairman of the Poppy Bank here as well. But check this out, folks. Check this article. Oakmont Senior Living under new investigation following Santa Rosa fire. Now, this was out on, I believe, January 30th, and the link here, I'll have to put it in. Workers entered a lockdown fire zone in Santa Rosa last week when an excavator and dump trucks began demolishing a Fountain Grove senior care facility, Mr. Gallagher's, before the ruins had been searched for bodies and toxic materials, according to city and county officials. Okay, the Oakmont Villa Capri, the day after, began October 17th without necessary clearance from the fire department and health officials. The investigation follows separate probes launched by the state into evacuations from 3 Oakmont senior living facilities during the fire, including Fountain Grove Lodge, which we'll get into in a minute. Authorities did not have a chance to search for human remains in the rubble of Villa Capri. What was he hiding, folks? Most of which was gone when they halted the work on the evening of October 18th. Police said they posted National Guard troops at the 1397 Fountain Grove Parkway property and sent detectives to the Petaluma disposal site where debris from the facility had been dumped. There's also posted troops of the night to guard the pile. Detectives worked off rosters. They said, oh, everybody's safe, right? The fire department knows of no other company in the city that has removed debris from the fire zone without authorization. The excavator's presence, documented last week in the Press Democrat on the Fountain Grove Parkway, along with dump trucks, was conspicuous in the area that had been evacuated. Only police, fire, utility crews, and press were allowed past armed checkpoints in the days following the firestorm. So somebody had to have serious connections to get in there. And that person is this guy right here, Mr. Bill Gallagher. All right? Not a good guy. So I talked about the Round Bar, the Fountain Lodge, and whatnot. And this is the Fountain Grove history. And it's really interesting this comes out. This barn was burned down. It was called the Round Barn. It was right next to the Fountain Grove Lodge. So the Fountain Grove area was settled in the 1800s by Thomas Lake Harris. Remember they're calling it the Thomas Fires. The colony included 1,400 acres of land, produced 70,000 gallons of wine in 1886. The person's belief, Thomas Lake Harris, included the idea of deity that was both male and female. He called the divine respiration. People could commune directly with God. Rumors of wild sex liaisons on the utopian hillside spread to the neighbors, who eventually complained to city officials about the goings-on at Fountain Grove. Reporter Christian scientist, they had him back then, Alzire Chevalier, whom Harris invited to Fountain Grove in 1891. Harris prepositioned Chevalier, hoping she might be her spiritual counterpart, but she declined. She discovered Harris with his feet on the lap of his secretary, a position he insisted was one that encouraged divine respiration. He dug deeper and found other transgressions, which he published in the San Francisco Chronicle. Harris was run off the land in 1892 by local Christian groups who opposed his mysticism and arcane ways, accused him of making sexual advances on his followers. And the lone person left holding the property, Nagasawa, was excluded from the Exclusion Act, was prevented from leaving the land to his heirs. So it went divided into county homes. Okay, so that was called Fountain Grove and the Fountain Grove Lodge. So check this out. So this is from December 13th, 2010. Fountain Grove Lodge, the nation's first retirement community with the option of continuing care for the LGBT community, is now accepting deposits for future residents. Fountain Grove Lodge is a dream that has been years in the making, reflects our desires to provide fine retirement living opportunities for a broad range of seniors, says Bill Gallagher. How do we do this? So Bill Gallagher has also got a website called Bring Back Coffee Park in Gallagher Home. So here he is milking it, doing his Poppy Bank loaning down here. Bill and Cindy grew up and raised their children here, you know, these great guys. No, he's kicking seniors to the street. He's hiding dead bodies, it looks like here, folks. This guy is not a good guy at all. So here's this article about Oakmont Senior living under new investigation following Santa Rosa fires. And you can see here they're removing the the debris, even though they're not supposed to be in there, and they're the only ones that are able to do that. And how does he get away with it when nobody else can? These two people that were going to their family's home got arrested. They had to go to trial. But Mr. Gallagher, because he owns the place. He owns the city council. He owns everybody that's running the show. That's how they get to do it. So here they have Santa Rosa opens doors for new housing after fire. This was done February 12th, okay? Santa Rosa is paving the way for a new 237-unit Fountain Grove project, Fountain Grove, after receiving reassurance it would be built with the strictest fire codes, assured. We don't even know what the fire was caused by, and they're going to give you codes to make it better for the next time. So it said on here a little further down, we're setting a precedent to build more housing in a fire area. We vote today. The neighborhood is what's called the Wildland Urban Interface, an area acknowledged fire danger that was adopted in 2008 for new construction. So this is one of the games they're playing, the Wildland Urban Interface, wildland fire disaster areas, and they're going to make huge chunks of California under the Wildland Urban. Wildland Urban, what does that mean? Okay, wild, urban, huh? They're telling you, folks. They're telling you what's going on. So they're talking about they're redoing the map, and all these maps are going to be more, including more of the fires. There's a story around Fountain Grove that back in the Haney fire back in 1964 had the same footprint. And then you have the city council coming out and saying, well, we don't know, if I hesitate to suggest this, but many people are starting, should we rebuild back in the Fountain Grove area since there was a fire back there in 1964? Again, they don't even know how these fires started, folks. We do, but they won't acknowledge it. So they're telling you they're going to rebuild, but they're not. All these homes are going to be destroyed and repurposed either to stack and pack them, walking parks as they're already doing, or to be just leveled, and they will not be rebuilt upon, declared a toxic fun site. Now, this isn't the only place this is happening. This happened during Hurricane Harvey. Poor people down in Harvey, down in Houston, they're out of homes, they're out of luck. They can't move back in. Same thing, super fun, toxic site. You put up the word benzene and highlight it, and you'll get more of the same going on. The 8 days after Harvey, at least 7 Superfund sites in and around Houston were underwater during the record-shattering storm. They surveyed it by boat, but they didn't survey the U.S. oil recovery. It was not one of the sites. So people are complaining, the toxicity. It also happened after the fires here. People going to their properties had huge headaches. They said it was so toxic they couldn't believe it. But the sampling material of the site revealed high concentrations of hazardous chemicals linked to cancer, such as benzene. The site also potentially contains toxic heavy metals, including mercury and arsenic. EPA study of the 500 Superfund sites in the United States and are located in flood zones. How smart is that? Specifically noted the risk that floodwaters might carry away and spread toxic materials over wild areas. So this is from an article just recently, February 12th, the other day. Santa Rosa opens door for new housing in fire-ravaged Fountain Grove. Now, just remember, 97% of the people that had homeowners insurance do not have enough coverage to rebuild, and that they're not going to move back in, folks. They're not going to have a chance. They're being screwed. There's over 40 of them in trailers that FEMA gave them and the Santa Rosa Fairgrounds. We're going to go interview them with Deborah Tavares on Thursday, and they're being booted out because FEMA says, we got to sell the trailers now. Homeless here has gone nuts in Southern California, nuts in Atlanta, nuts in Houston, and it's Pacific Northwest, part of the plan. More homeless, then you're going to have more people claiming for more police state, and they're going to clamp down with ICE and federal agents and everybody else. That's the plan. So here from this article here, Santa Rosa is paving the way for a 237-unit Fountain Grove project after receiving assurances it would be built to the strictest fire codes, even though they can't tell you how the fire even started. City Council deadlocked on request by City Ventures to rezone a vacant 40-acre Round Barn Boulevard from Business Park to medium-density residential. From Business Park, medium-density residential. Several council members expressed hesitation, putting more people in harm's way about the fires. That's the Haney fire they're talking about. Fire Marshal Scott Moon, who still can't tell us how the fire started, outlined the strictness of fire codes for new construction. We're setting a precedent to build more housing in a fire hazard area when we vote today. I just think we need to put more sleeping people, not to put more sleeping people in a fire hazard area, especially when you don't know how the fire started. The neighborhood is in what is called the wildland urban interface we just talked about. The area of acknowledged fire danger that was adopted. The state proposed to dramatically shrink areas of the city that it considered to be in a very high fire hazard severity zone. The city took in 2008 a conservative approach. I'm sure they're going to take a more aggressive one now. New regulations coming online in mid-2018 would extend the window requirements for skylights, weather stripping to prevent embers from entering through the door gaps, including garage doors. They torched the things. These things were taken down to the chimneys. There was nothing left. Granite, glass, porcelain. And weather stripping is going to help prevent these fires. Of the 1,458 destroyed, 97% were built in 2000 code changes. But of the 22 homes built in the area since, only 1 survived. City Venture officials were careful not to offer many details about the project. So here's City Venture residences, solar power, natural gas, the all green. They're also talking here zero energy at these meetings. There's no such thing as zero energy. But again, they're going to make it so green, with all their greening. It's going to be so expensive and prices are going to go up and they're going to be tiny little homes and everything. But City Ventures builds energy efficient homes for the good of the green earth. How nice of them. And a green wallet. Advanced energy efficiency appliances called smart appliances, folks, and other innovations like 5G, allow these sustainable homes so significantly reduce your utility bills. Yeah, right. They're the most energy efficient new homes on the market, and their technologies come standard in all City Ventures Green Key homes. There's no extra fee to achieve low energy. They reduce your impact on the environment while allowing you to live in comfort and style. Not only does your new Green Home Key provide healthy, clean air, advanced airflow systems, blah, blah, and blah, all under the Green moniker. So who are these guys? Well, the chief executive is in San Francisco. His name is Phil Kerr. Bay Communities, works with landowners, communities, just a great guy. Open space. Got involved with urban development as a means to preserve open space with smarter, more dense infill growth. At City Ventures, he's responsible for land acquisition, asset management, project design, and entitlement for new infill communities through Northern California. Harvard and Dartmouth College. So what is an infill, folks? It's efficient utilization of land resources. Remember, we got water resources, land resources, and human resources. More compact patterns of land use and development. Infill refers to the development of vacant parcels within previously built areas. Right man for the job. These areas are already served by public infrastructure such as transportation, water, wastewater, and other utilities. These are the players they're bringing into the game to take over with the Agenda 21. But they're going to be using that the property's contaminated, home sales are going to drop, homeless is going to go through the roof even more. We haven't had any rain here at all in California, and it's just getting worse. As I said, the dump trucks everywhere, and it's just a takeover of these lands, folks. It's disaster capitalism. It's Agenda 21, Agenda 30. So hopefully this gives them wake up. The people of in Coffin Park, and Fountain Grove. I apologize, but I wanted to bring you some truth as to what's really happening. And if you can, get out if you can, because there's going to be nothing left. The values will not be there on the properties. This is a takeover. This is a big brother takeover of lands, and it's going to be coming to everywhere. You watch, the same thing's going to happen down in Santa Barbara, in Ventura, in San Diego, where this happened, in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, up in Fort McMurray, Alberta, Canada. You can see it happening all over. There are little different ways of doing it, but they're bringing in the FEMA guys, ex-FEMA guys, Clinton's buddy, James Lee Witt, who's partnering with Darius Anderson, who owns the Press Democrat, and Doug Bosco, and they're doing the Treasure Island project, $6 billion project with Lennar Homes, one of the largest home builders. And James Lee Witt, the ex-FEMA guy who's been tapped by the Darius Anderson, the Press Democrat, to oversee this whole project. Why does a newspaper owner get to bring in an ex-FEMA guy to run the disaster capitalist program? Nobody can answer that question. So it's all a big takeover. They're going to profit from the disasters. The people are going to be losing. There's going to be stack and pack'ems. And there's going to be a lot more land that's going to be considered wild urban interface disaster fire areas that can't be rebuilt on. And we were also, Deborah and I and some other people were at the council meeting when Senator Michael McGuire stated, I want to get that and show you on record, he stated that he's very concerned, I'm paraphrasing, very concerned in the very near future, there will be another major wildfire in the Sierras, which will burn the Sierra Nevadas down. His words. I'll get a copy of that. Is it predictive programming or speculation? I say it's the former. All right, Plain Truth out. Thanks for listening. Hope got some information out of this. Thanks for listening. Peace out. On what that looked like. And then here we have the Coffee Park, Fountain Grove, and Larkfield Wickiup, which are around the same area. So they're going to be now Coffin Park, Fountain Grove, and no more building going on, folks, as we're going to show here in a minute. The coffee area quickly went up in flames. You can see the before and after picture of homes that were absolutely destroyed. The demarcation line showing there were lasers used. Some places hit, some places not. Almost in 18 Fountain Grove here. They're turning into before and after pictures here you see as well. Just massive homes just destroyed, but others were left untouched. Then they had the Pocket Fire, the Atlas Fire, and all these. So we're going to get into this area here around the Fountain Grove area. And I want to bring your attention to this article. This is in the Press Democrat, the local paper here owned by Darius Anderson. Kenwood Investments also is his group, and he's partners with Doug Bosco. And these guys are all home builders and rebuilders, and they own the newspapers, and they own city council. And we got the ex-FEMA guys, James Lee Witt, profiting from the disaster. But here they're doing tests on the water samples, and this is why nobody's going to be able to move back in. They've been scraping, and there's been so many dump trucks every day, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, every single day, night and day, taking down the properties and leveling them, and people are trying to start to rebuild, but they're being stymied, as we'll get into. So here's one of the reasons they're being stymied. This is January 26th, last week or so, a little over. Santa Rosa officials, now remember, October 8th, 9th was the fire, so we got November, December, and January, so we got over 3 months. Santa Rosa officials are scrambling to figure out why drinking water fire started. Can you believe that? And it may take another couple months before they know. But that hasn't stopped the vultures, the Rebuild North Bay, the Agenda 21, the infill crowd, the city ventures, and all the big homeowner groups coming in and moving these people out of their homes. Going to put in these people, I'm going to show you, they're not getting back in their homes, basically. They're not going to be able to move back in. Total loss on these properties. And this is what, by design, folks. I hate to tell you, but it's by design. So 7,500 damaged homes. Here you see they're calling it the Tubbs Fire. 5,500 structures destroyed. Give you a little recap. Hey, folks. Welcome to another video from A Plain Truth. I want to do an update. It's been since October 8th till now, so over 3.5 months about, since the over 60 fires. They're combining them, as you can see here, into these 4 or 5 fires. But no, there was fires up in the Sierra Buttes. There was fires up in Mendocino. There were over 60 fires started all at the same time, came out of nowhere, and we're still over, like I said, 3.5 months, way past 100 days. And I just sat there with Ken Pimelot, the CAL FIRE chief, said he still has no idea. Maybe it was a grass fire. Maybe it was a phone pole. No idea still how these